These are the 5 questions to ask before your next career move. Now, whether you're considering a new job, even a promotion at your work, that's a career move, right? So I do have calls with clients that are like, I'm not looking to make a move, but I keep getting passed over for opportunities in my current role. So how can you best position yourself, and what can you do in your current role to help you excel in your career? We have that support here for you as well. So if that's you, let us know in the comments, and we can reach out to you with the best resources that you would need in order to make moves internally, because that is a big part. Now, and also if you're looking to make a complete career change, then this is definitely for you, because asking yourself the right questions can make all the difference in how easy your job search is. Now, let's face it, a job search is not easy. It doesn't matter what level of career, what industry. It takes time and effort. And even with us and our programs that we offer, we're going to give you all the tools and resources that you need, but you still have to put in the work. You still have to put in the effort to take these tools and resources and utilize them in the best way possible. Okay. So we can help you with that too. So if you're curious and want to know what it means to work with us and what tools and resources, let us know, type it in the comments, and we'll be able to help support you, because we do offer like customized solutions, because everybody does have a different background and different goals. And so your job search strategy really needs to be customized for those reasons. Now, we provide the frameworks and we provide the roadmap, but there sometimes is a lot of tweaking along the way, depending on where you're at in your career. So let me know, where are you in your career? What is your role? Are you director, VP, manager? And what industries do you work in? That's also helpful, because then I can tailor some of the future lives. If I know we have a lot of those in healthcare or financial services or pharmaceutical, education, higher ed, right? Let me know in the comments what your industry is, and we can help tailor some of these future lives to help support you, okay? Now, today we're going to explore the essential questions and encourage you to share your thoughts. I will definitely want you to be active in this, because as I see the comments, I'm going to keep them here up on my side screen so that we can tailor some of this and really help you to understand, what have you considered all the areas today? So please share your thoughts, experience, and questions in the comments throughout the session. So let's get started. Now, the first question you want to ask yourself: does this career move align with my long-term goals? Okay, really understand this. Now, the importance of understanding your long-term objectives could be things like personal satisfaction and professional growth, ensuring you're on the right path, right? So what are your long-term goals? Is it to buy a house? Is it to move out of state, move out of the country? Is it maybe to wind down, maybe not take on so much responsibility? Is it maybe to have a career that's paying your bills, but also you want to start a side business? We have some clients in our program now that are looking for work, but they also have a long-term goal of wanting to start their own business, right? So is the next career path going to be aligned with that, maybe that business that you want to start on the side? Maybe you've already started it. Okay. So these are other things to really ask yourself. What are those long-term goals? Maybe also it's think about that, right? So what are some of your long-term goals? Some of the things that I answered. What else am I missing? What are some other long-term goals that you have that I haven't already talked about? Let me know in the chats. I want to know what those are, because the importance of understanding these, like I talked about, has to deal with personal satisfaction, professional growth, and ensuring that you're on the right path. Also assessing alignment with your goals, right? Where do you see yourself in 5 years, 10 years, 15 years? Maybe it's winding down. Maybe it's doing something completely different. Does this move bring you closer to that vision of where you see yourself in 5 years, 10 years, or 15 years, right? What are some of those long-term goals that you have? And I want to know, because it's becoming common that maybe it's also to have a completely remote position. And what does that look like? Are you prepared to have that remote position? That's another thing that I hear quite often, that's where people want to be. Okay. Now, let's hear from you, right? What are some of your long-term goals and how do you make sure your decisions align with them? Please share your thoughts in the comments and we're going to keep going. And I want to hear what some of those goals are. The next question to ask yourself, what new skills or experiences will I gain? Now, how do you evaluate potential for personal and professional growth? You do so by learning new skills, expanding your network, increasing your industry knowledge. So, will you be gaining new skills, making this change? And what are some of those skills that you will be gaining? You know, one of the things that I hear many times too when I'm working with my clients is that they think they need more education and more certifications in order to make a move. And 9 out of 10 times after having a strategy session with them and looking at their experience and looking at their education, I find that they could do exactly what it is that they want to do now. They don't really need to get more certifications or get more education. So how many of you think that the next step in order to get to where you want to be means going back to school, getting an MBA or finishing school or getting more certifications? I can assure you that if you have 10, 15, 20 years of experience, education may not be the deal breaker as for you getting to the next step. Will it help you learn personally? Yes, but I don't think that it's going to leave money on the table or it's not going to allow you to make a change. What allows you to make a change is having the right career tools and resources, having the perfect resume, having the best LinkedIn profile, knowing exactly what it is that you want to target, and being able to craft a brand that speaks to where it is that you want to go now. All of that can be done without getting new certifications and education. But what's great about that is it does help you grow professionally. Now, you also want to look at identify opportunities in the new role, right? It's easy to see somebody else in that new role and think that it's going to work for you. And that's not always the case. You know, I also have a lot of these conversations with my clients or prospective clients that are calling in to find out what we can do to help them. And they say, well, you know, somebody looked at my resume and they thought that I would be good in this type of marketing role, which this person has no experience in and doesn't really know what the true job responsibilities are, doesn't know what company culture and values for those type of companies, what they include, and what are opportunities for training and development. So you can't, you know, like let's see what it is, right? You always hear that grass is greener on the other side, and it's so true. The grass is not always greener. You really have to understand some more about what are the job responsibilities that are going to come and the company culture, and are they aligned with what it is that you're looking for? Again, those long-term objectives. Here's the thing. Job searching is not easy. Okay, I'm going to tell you that. You know, it's a very complicated process. You know, especially if you're doing this on your own. Some companies are putting you through 6, 7, 8, 9 rounds of interviews. You know, it's a lot of work. You may even have to do a presentation. You may have to do a video interview. I mean, there's so many different components that come along with today's job search strategies because there's just so many different ways for companies to now work remotely. So they have a big audience. You really have to stand out. You have to know what it is that you're up against. So doing the research or, you know, working with a coach or a mentor, really helping you to see where all of these areas are is key to ensuring that once you go through a job search and once you go through interviews, that you don't find yourself in another job search only months later. And that's the biggest thing that I see people who are not doing the work, who are just making a jump into the next role, who are not doing the resources, the research and not using the resources that we offer here. Then what ends up happening is they end up making a jump only to find out 3 to 4 months down the line, it's not a good fit and they're in a job search again. And who wants to be in that situation, right? I mean, when you do the work up front, then you find that you're going to do less work later on because you'll actually find a role that is a great fit. You know that it's the right industry. You know that it's the right career path. So all of these things I'm telling you, which might seem basic, I could tell you so many times it's basic stuff, but people don't do it. People don't do it. They just listen. They take the word of somebody else who had success in that area, think that it could work for them, and just take the jump. And they haven't done the research. And then they find themselves, wow, this wasn't a good fit. You don't want to be in that situation, especially in this economy. The job search is completely different than what it even was a couple of years ago with COVID. So, it might seem like a lot of work to do the research, to grow your connections, to maybe learn some new skills, but I guarantee you that it'll be well worth it in the end when you can stay at the next role for a year or more and you don't find yourself miserable during that time, right? You don't find yourself unfulfilled, not challenged. Nobody wants to be in a role like that, especially if you're in this group. This group is for high achieving professionals. We're go-getters here in this group. So I know that you don't want to be in a job that you're so bored that you're not finding challenges. There's no room for growth or any of that. So does it make sense to do the work first? It might be hard. It might be difficult. It might be even frustrating because you have to step out of your comfort zone, but that's okay. Do it now so you don't have to go into another job search later. Okay. Now, what skill or experiences have you gained from your previous career moves? I want you to think about that because especially if you made a couple of jumps in the last couple of years, the question to ask yourself is, what did I gain going from one company to another? If you haven't gained new experiences or new skills, that's also another telltale sign that you're making jumps in your career that are not helping you grow professionally. Okay, I'm going to say that again because it's so important. What skills or experiences have you gained from your previous career moves? How have they helped you grow professionally? If you haven't grown and you just bounced from one company to another and maybe gained a little bit more in salary, but you haven't really grown professionally, that's a telltale sign that you're not making the right career moves. You're making lateral moves, maybe for a little bit more money. And that's also not going to give you the advantage that you need to really go to the high level, to really expand your reach, right? So really important here. So, tell me what you've learned. We'd love to know your thoughts. So please share in the comments what's going on. I'm seeing, having both an income and a balanced life. Yes, that's so important, Jean, right? We all want a balanced life. We all know what it's like to have an imbalanced life. And it's no fun. It's exhausting mentally, physically, emotionally. We all want to do things that we enjoy. Well, speaking of, Jean mentioned having both income and balanced life. The third question you should actually ask yourself is, what is the work-life balance in this new role or industry? I remember having a conversation with the client, and this was a couple of years ago, and one of the things that she spoke so much about was having a work-life balance because of the new family dynamic, a lot of things going on. She was tied to the desk, didn't have a lot of movement, and she needed that. And one of the things was that she wanted to be closer to home and she didn't want to travel a lot. And it's interesting what I was just talking about before, where I said, when you think about the other side and what other people had successes with, doesn't mean that you'd have the same success going into that role. She actually said that people thought she would do really well in management consulting. And, she was considering a field in that. But just based on the 10 or 15 minutes I had spent with her, everything she said clearly indicated that management consulting would have been the worst idea for her to go. And she didn't understand why. She just had people who were in management consulting that did well tell her that, hey, you might be good. There's a lot of money to be made, because she wanted really that big income. um, that big increase in her income. So she was only looking at it from that one perspective. Until she worked with me, she understood a lot more that going into management consulting, you're probably not going to have a lot of work-life balance because there's a lot of travel. And she didn't understand that initially, right? She was only seeing one side of the picture. So that's the difference between working with a mentor and coach, because there's so many different areas that you have to consider. And so when you get feedback and you work with other people, you want to make sure that you're asking the right questions to really understand the full company culture, how these companies are. Management consulting would have been the worst. The last thing she wanted to do was travel. She was actually trying to scale down on that, but she didn't have a good understanding of what the management consulting field was all about. And, since it was COVID, yes, travel had slowed down, but once, everything opens up again, travel was going to resume for the most part in that field, right? How many of you in management consulting? Give us some, inside information. But from what I know, travel is picking up again in that field, right? And I mean, sometimes it's 75 to 85% of travel in management consulting. So, these are all the things that you have to consider. Like, what is the work-life balance really like in this new role or industry? Now, what's the importance of that? It's because if you don't have a good work-life balance, it's going to take a toll on your physical and mental well-being. And definitely your relationships, and you could get burnout. So, research and consider work-life balance. And how can you do that? You can do that by looking at company culture, understanding the policies. These are questions that you also need to be asking during an interview. You may find out some of this information online, but if you go to a company website, it's going to be glorified, right? It's going to tell you the best of the best, but is that really all of it? And you could go to Glassdoor, but Glassdoor is also, it's a lot of, disgruntled employees, or maybe people that had bad experiences that were valid, but it's also, you're going to see more negative information on Glassdoor than true pictures. So you have to do your due diligence to look at all of these areas and then make your own educated guess, but also use that as ammunition and preparation for questions during an interview to understand what is really going on within that company. What is work-life balance, right? And so this is what I do when I work with my clients. If that's important, we look at the job descriptions, understanding their needs. The more that I understand about you, I can help you to develop the best questions that will work for you based on what it is that you're looking for in your life. Because work-life balance, as we know, means something different to everyone. Everybody has a different definition of work-life balance. Okay. So what does work-life balance need for you? And how important is it to you? How do you maintain it in your career? Share your tips and experience, in the comments. What are your personal preferences and boundaries? What are some of your industry expectations? They're going to differ very much so from one person to another, and especially depending on the level of experience that you're currently in your career, right? Okay. Any questions on that? So please let us know. Next one, number 4. I want to see the big money signs in the comments. How will income and benefits be affected? This is huge. You need to evaluate the financial implications. And I talked about this in one of the other lives. I believe it was the last one of the week before, like how to prepare for salary negotiations, because too many times people focus on the base salary. Salary negotiation means all of that. So if you haven't watched that live, please go check it out. If you need the link to that live, let us know in the comments, because we talk all about how to ensure the financial component of the job is aligned with you, right? Is aligned with your goals, your 5, 10, 15-year plan. It's aligned with your work-life balance. Now, what are the financial benefits? There's salary, right? That's the baseline salary. Then there's benefits, healthcare, retirement plans, paid time off, vacation, and then of course, growth potential and bonuses. What does that look like for an organization? And sometimes the salary base might be a little bit lower, but the bonuses are higher, which kind of compensates for that. And you're actually walking away with a lot more. So you want to consider and evaluate, like, what does it mean going into the next step? Some of you may be willing to take a pay cut, and I disagree. You don't have to. There's just a misconception out there that if you want to make a change, you have to take a pay cut. And I'm a firm believer that you don't. There are many different ways. Now, when I say pay cut, I also don't mean base salary, right? If you would take a maybe $5,000 pay cut in your base, but now you're getting a month vacation versus 2 weeks, what does that mean for you? Especially when you can go into an organization, roll up your sleeves, and you know that you're going to get the results that you can bring to the table and really help to ask for salary increase sooner, right? What about when a big part of salary negotiation is a lot of times they say, you have your annual review. What if you negotiated a base and asked for a review in 6 months or 9 months? Right? I've actually had someone negotiate. They offered her a 9-month review because because of their budget, they couldn't give her what she really wanted. They offered her a 9-month review, and I said, okay, well, let's go back and ask for 6. They actually gave her the 6-month review. So you know what's going to happen in 6 months? She's going to be way beyond what she wanted, even though she didn't get it at the initial start, but she will get that in the very short term, and she doesn't have to wait a year, right? So we had to look at all of these because the big thing is just assessing the overall value, comparing with your current role, factoring the cost of living and relocation expenses, if that's also something that's going to happen. If it's not remote, then what is gas, commute, travel, all of those things. So we can help you with all of that. So how do you approach evaluating income and benefits? Are you considering all of these things when you're looking at the job, or are you just looking at the baseline salary, right? It's a big question to ask yourself, because many times, and when I have questions with my clients and have these calls, the first thing I'll ask them is, what is your target salary? And 9 out of 10 times the response I get, well, what I'm making now, and I have to stop them. I have to say, hold on, that's not what I asked what you're making now. The question is, what is it that you want? What is your target salary? Right? So even it's just human nature for us to really compare what we want to what it is that we're making now. And you don't have to do that. So important. So think about that. What is that target salary that you want? That's what you should be going for. It has nothing to do with what you're making now. Okay, so really important there. So you want to factor in all of these things. And let me know, have you ever made a difficult decision in this regard? Share your experience in your comments. I'd love to know. And remember, what you're giving and sharing is helping others prepare. And that's what this community is all about. It's your opportunity to network. Post what it is that you're looking for. Post what it is that you do and how can we help support you. That's what this is all about, right? This is an opportunity for you to network. Get comfortable in this group so that you can then take it to LinkedIn and get comfortable on LinkedIn, because that's a big part of it. And I have a ton of live replays on LinkedIn. And if you're not comfortable with LinkedIn, you got to get comfortable with it, right? That's what networking, online networking is all about. You need to look at the overall value and what you're also bringing to the table. And remember, you can walk into an interview and have this number in your head just based on the job description. But then the interview is another big opportunity for you to evaluate, am I selling myself short here? Let's say you go into the interview and 150,000 is your number. But then you hear the job description and you're like, wow, this is a lot of job responsibilities. You better be asking for that 175 if it makes sense, right? So you have to be open to that too, knowing going into the interview that it could change based on what you know about the role, based on what you know about the company, how many people are going to be reporting to you and what are their levels, right? So you can definitely do your research in advance, know your overall value, but know that it should definitely be increasing if you find out more information during the interview that has you confident that you're going to be handling a lot more than what you've handled in the past, okay? And that you're going to be giving a lot more value. Remember too, they need you just as much as you need them. So if you know that maybe they only wanted an associate's degree that was part of the requirement, and they wanted 10 years of experience, but you're coming to the table with maybe a master's degree and 20 years of experience, and you're bringing a lot more, and they really want you and you're the top candidate, you can ask more just because you're bringing more than what the minimum requirements are to the table too, right? So don't sell your short. This is overall value. You have to consider that as well. All right. So we're getting down to the wire. The fifth question that you should be asking yourself, and it's the most important one, because all of that other stuff is data and statistics, and we can really look at that. But just ask yourself, am I genuinely passionate about this new career path? Does it make my heart happy? Does it excite me? I mean, that's a big thing, right? Because if it doesn't, and you're just doing it because maybe somebody's in your ear thinking that you should do it, you're not going to enjoy it. And you're going to be back in that never-ending cycle of a job search again, which is what I want for you not to be in. I want this to be a very lucrative move for you, but one that's worth your while, not one that you're doing it because others think it's a good next step for you. So ask yourself, am I genuinely passionate about this new career path? Does it excite me? Right? What are some ways that you could identify the driving factors behind your career move? I'll go over some of those right now. So number one, passion and interest. Like, why are you even considering this field, right? Are there any external factors like pressure, financial reasons? Put that aside. Put aside pressure, put aside what people tell you, put aside the financial reasons. Really think about the passion and interest that come along with it. Are you going to be helping people? Are you going to have an opportunity to coach and mentor staff, work with clients, work for a company that's doing really good in the world, something that you're proud to work for, right? Think about some of these things. Then you want to assess the long-term satisfaction. Will you enjoy the day-to-day task? Do you believe in the company's missions and the values? And number one, here's another big thing. You have to trust your intuition. Recognize the importance of job satisfaction. Acknowledge that it's never too late to change paths. I don't care if you have 20 years left to work, 2 years left to work. It's never too late. And you should never spend a minute being in a job that doesn't satisfy you, that doesn't make you happy, that doesn't make you love Mondays again, get out of bed in the morning, want to work, and that pays you your worth, and then some, right? Pays you your worth with interest. I'm all about that. Now, have you ever made a career move based on passion? Think about all the career moves you've made in the past, and you could probably identify one or two that you made just to make it. You made it on a whim. You made it because maybe there was pressure or financial reasons, and you made a jump and you knew right away that it wasn't a good fit. Don't make that same mistake, right? Because then you could think about what are the challenges you face by making that mistake. Probably being in a job search, or maybe going from one toxic work environment to another because you hadn't done your research, or maybe you haven't done some inner work and some, work on your mindset and things like that. So that's why we're a full service career company. We help you with all of that. We give you all the tools, the resources, the writing that you need. But if you need help with mindset and overcoming some of these challenges, we offer that as well. So tell me in the comments, what challenges or rewards have you faced, right? Because you can also identify those jobs that you did make on passion, you did make because you were excited, and you probably can already see the rewards. Look at your resume and look at the jobs you had. That's going to be a clear indicator when you made moves based on pressure versus passion, right? And that's going to be a big part. So I'm going to wrap up. I hope this session provided you with valuable insights to guide you in making an informed decision about your next career move, right? I want you to remember that we're here to help support you. So if you would like to learn more about what it is to work with me and my team and really help guide you into that next step, just reach out to Tarina and she will help get you on our calendars. I hope you have an amazing rest of your week, and thank you so much for being here.